Hey everyone, it's Pamela.
And Kyle from Mammoth Solutions.
And we are here to talk about your email marketing. We are going to give you some tips today on how to do an effective email campaign, from using templates to building your content to knowing when to send your emails. We've got a lot of great content today to help you out with your email marketing efforts, so let's get started. We're going to prioritize the content in terms of how you should approach your email marketing campaign. So Kyle, do you want to start us off?
Sure. One of the first things you want to do is start building a list. Once you've built your list, you want to be able to have a template to drop that stuff into. We're going to talk about how the list is not in your Outlook. You're not sending to 50 or more people from Gmail. You're going to have a professional system that houses all of your email marketing content. How to choose those, what to think about there, and then how to optimize adding the content, make sure it stays formatted nicely. You know, there's a lot of times you get an email, professional email from someone, it doesn't look great. We're going to cover that, and then we're going to cover about when to send it, how to maximize the optimization for making sure that people get what you're sending them. Mm-hmm. You don't want to send it at middle of the night on Sunday and everybody comes in Monday and the first thing they do is delete all their emails. So little tips and trips like that. We're going to keep it real simple.
Yeah. So all right, let's start at building your list. What do we need to know about that?
The first thing to do is start immediately. Take your contacts from your email, export them to a file, a CSV, spreadsheet, anything like that, and get it into a system. I always use MailChimp. They're a local company, and the best thing about it is they let you start with 2,000 users for free. So if you're not, you don't have any excuse not to get started. If you've got more than 2,000, then you can start looking at their plans and that sort of stuff. But I have a feeling that if you have over 2,000 contacts ready for your list, you're probably already doing this.
Yes. And I use MailChimp for my list on my show. I'll put my links to it below. I'll put all the links to everything we talk about today below in this video. I do use MailChimp. It's really easy to use. I have not exported my contacts, though. So Why should I do that? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of do's and don'ts with that, right? You love it when suddenly you start getting an email from someone and you haven't opted in. So the first opt-in there, this was a big thing that I know we talked about before we got here, is how to make sure somebody's giving you permission to be on that list.
Yes.
So MailChimp has a feature that's really easy to use, and when you import the contacts, there's a button that says, this person gave me permission to add me to the list. And you can really easily say yes, and they will not get an email. Yep. That's what you don't want to do unless you're taking a list from another program. If you're building a list for the first time, you want to not tick that, because if you import the list and you haven't ticked it, it's going to send them an email saying, hey, Pamela at Call Time has imported you into her list, and do you want to opt in now? And then they have the ability to say, yes, I want future emails from this person or company.
And that's the preferred way to do it.
That is the way to do it. Opt in. There are things called opt-in and double opt-in. A double opt-in is the next part. Let's say you've imported 500 emails from your Outlook contacts. And now you're going to go to your website and you've got a contact form or a subscribe form or anything like that. You would have a double opt-in would look like a little button at the bottom before you press subscribe or send me an email, and it would say, I want to be on the newsletter. Right. That's the first opt-in and a double opt-in. Right. The next one would be them sending an email saying, hey, you just got subscribed to this list.
Right.
Click here to confirm. Yep. So that's the MailChimp standard double opt-in.
Right. Okay. And I do use that for my list. And I just actually want to make a point about opting in and getting permission. I've had it happen to me probably 3 or 4 times lately where I meet somebody at a networking event, we exchange cards.
And now you're in their spam list.
And the next thing I know, I'm on their email list. Yeah. And it really irritates me because not only did I not give them permission, I didn't even know they had an email list, frankly. Yeah. I just found myself on it all of a sudden. So it's really irritating for me because I'm getting more email that I have to deal with, but it also creates work for me to remove myself from all these lists. And I just think it's not polite. You know, it's just not polite to do that to your contacts that you hardly know. So please don't do that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
That brings up 2 new topics for 2 new videos, doesn't it?
Yes, I know.
Do's and
We
don'ts of networking.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Don't just start harvesting emails.
Yeah.
And the other one is how to actually effectively get rid of that. There's the nice way, which is what does work for you. No, the nice way to stop that is to say, click here to unsubscribe,
Unsubscribe.
and then get all that.
Right.
The really not nice way is to say spam. And if you're using Google Apps or Gmail or something like that, and you mark it as spam, then they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And they get enough of that, they'll get blacklisted and things like that. So the reason we're telling you some of this stuff is we don't want you to get blacklisted.
Yeah, we don't want you to get blacklisted. We want you to build your business, but we want you to do it the right way, in a way that won't piss people off. So, yeah, rule number 1. So, what about
Building a template.
building a template?
Yep.
Yes, next topic.
So I have a marketing agency. I think it's really important. We do these for customers for about $500. That's at cost. It takes about 5 hours to do something like this. Sometimes it takes more. But you want to have a professional looking template to send the emails from MailChimp. And here's some things to think about. One, you want to have it on brand. When people get it visually, does it have the same colors and logos as the rest of your style guide? And that's pretty straightforward to do. You can do it yourself. MailChimp gives a lot of mobile responsive templates. These look good on cell phones, that sort of stuff. But it's really easy to start getting in there and messing stuff up. So I personally think it's worthwhile if you're going to get started on email marketing to make the investment to be on brand and have a good template. When you do that, you want to start thinking about segmenting your audience. And this is something we could have talked about when we were talking about importing your contacts into the system.
Right, right.
You may have some people in there that are customers. Some are just people you met at networking events that you want to do biz dev with and things like that. You don't have to don't let that stop you from importing and building your list and getting started. That's probably why I didn't talk about it first. But when you start building a template, you can think about what are the key messages I want to have in here.
Right.
I don't want to necessarily send one email to everybody that only talks about one thing. I may have 3 different audiences I want to talk to.
That's
I want to
true.
do a little teaser to sponsors about this. I want to do something to partners about that. And instead of giving them the entire bit of information, all the content, I want my template to be built to say, here's a little headline about each of these sections. And I use the 80-20 rule on visual. It's a teaser style. You say, here's 80% picture and 20% text.
Right.
It has a nice clear call to action, has a nice headline, so when they see the message in your email, the headline, and they click on it and they open it up, they see maybe 2 or 3 segments with really easy to understand, oh, that's what I'm looking for. Click on it, go to your website.
Yeah. So one thing I've noticed in MailChimp's program is that they have a lot of predefined templates that you can use.
They do.
And are those any good?
There are. They're also limited. You want to know, you want to pick something that fits your business, and if it doesn't, then don't try and start with it and keep it just to save money. I mean, you find something just completely plain instead of something with a car and some coffee or something like that, because you can't get that stuff out of their templates.
Right.
It's,
and I've tried. I have tried.
Yeah. It's all hard coded in there.
Yeah,
so
it is.
if you are going to do it yourself, start with something vanilla but mobile friendly, and get your headline in there. Try and get a logo in and build out your sections.
So what about adding content?
Yeah,
Content is king, right?
Content is very important. I don't try and give it all away in the email. A lot of people spend a lot of time writing a long, blog post in the email or taking everything from their website, putting it in there. I think of this as a way to drip feed your audience. You just want to.
Good
you just want
analogy.
to. You
I
want
like
to. you just want to tease them a little bit and
Yeah.
get them to your website. So you've spent time writing some blog posts. Some people subscribe to your social media. You've been sharing those regularly, and maybe they've gotten them, but maybe they haven't. Maybe they haven't been tuned in that well. So now, instead of every day, every week, whenever your frequency is on blogging and sharing on social media, someone who has been dialed out sees an email come through and says, wow, I'm not that tuned in. I now have an opportunity to catch up. This is the monthly or bi-monthly digest of here's all the headlines of everything that's been happening since the last time I got an email, and how am I going to catch up with this source I've subscribed to.
Right.
So I try and keep it. I've got a nonprofit I do the newsletter for called Ammo, and we have the headline of the monthly event that we host. We have a section on events that are in the area that are related to what we do, and people love to share events with us that we can then share with our list. And then we have a section for the sponsors. And that's a really easy place to update. We've got sponsors that change every month for the events. We've got the events that change every month that are happening around the community. And then we have our headline. And our headline just has the name of the event, a picture of who's presenting, and a bit of information with a link to the website so they can come find out more.
Right, yeah. And I do the same thing. I have my newsletter, which you subscribe to, and I'm going to have to take some of your tips about not writing too much text. But I'll work on that. But I do send out articles sometimes.
Yep.
And those are fairly well received, but I'm experimenting. So I'm experimenting with the videos, I'm experimenting with articles, and right now it's kind of a 50-50 split. So I'm still feeling out what works for my audience, and what I have found helps me is to send out a survey. So I've sent out a survey, I've done one so far, and I've gotten a bunch of responses, and like I said, it's pretty split evenly down the line of people who want to see videos, people who want to read articles, and also the topics that they want to see. But at least it's giving me some idea of how readers are responding to me and what they click on. So I think that's a good way to do it. I use SurveyMonkey, and SurveyMonkey integrates with MailChimp, so it's really easy to set up a survey.
It is.
And they have pre-written questions that you can choose from, so you don't even have to write your own questions. These are tested questions, and they'll help you build the survey really quickly, get it out to your subscribers, and just see what they have to say. When you send out a couple of newsletters, send them a survey and say, hey, do you like what I've sent you so far? And hopefully they will give you some good feedback.
Good qualitative
So
feedback.
that's my tip for the day.
I'm turning this one over to Pamela.
Uh-oh.
No, she brings up a good point. This isn't. I'm not giving you the rules for every email all the time. It's just guidelines of best practices with most businesses. But Pamela's at an interesting stage where she's learning her audience and doing a lot more intense development of who she's talking to. So
Yes.
that two-way feedback through email and with surveys is great market research.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, so I'm posting this on my personal channel, which is more of a business and lifestyle channel, but I have another channel, again, which I will link to down below. It's called Call Time Atlanta, and it focuses on the Atlanta entertainment industry. So I interview people in the entertainment industry. I've also started adding some kind of personal growth topics over there that my audience has asked me to talk about. So, like Kyle said, my audience is evolving, and I am evolving with them. So that reflects in everything I do on the channel, which is another video topic we could probably spend hours on, but it also reflects on what I send them in my email newsletters. So it's tricky, it's an ever-evolving process, I think.
Yep.
So what about sending emails? When do you send them? You
Yep.
mentioned, don't send them on a Sunday night when everyone's asleep.
Yeah, there's a lot of research that, and again, these aren't for every audience and every nook and cranny, but a lot of B2B, I think, in general, is what I focus on. Retail can be very different, and I think most retail people know their audiences very well, especially for e-commerce, so I'm not
Yes.
going to even touch that.
Yep.
That's my caveat on all that I spew today. But in general, Tuesday and Wednesday mornings seem to be the best, and there's a lot of research behind this and why that seems to be the case. And it does go back to people what their habits are at work and what they're doing and when do they have time to read it. And if you put yourself in these shoes and you think about your own situation, it starts to really make sense. You maybe come to work on Monday, and what's the first thing you do? You've got a lot of spam or things you subscribe to, not
Right.
real spam, things that you don't have time for.
Right.
And the week's starting, and the cliff is getting back into the rhythm of work after 2 days off can
Yeah.
be challenging. So what do? Delete, delete, delete. Anything non-essential.
Right.
Maybe even stuff your boss sends
Right.
you. But we'll have another session
We
about
won't tell
that.
anybody.
You just delete it all. So don't be in that delete box.
Yeah.
Don't do it on the weekend just because you have the time to. Spend the time to look at your open rates, look at the analytics that you have. MailChimp gives you all these tools to see,
Yep.
okay, I sent it out, who opened it, when did they open it, how frequently do they click on it, those
Right.
sort of things. And say, all right, I know that Tuesday and Wednesday mornings are great. And for most businesses, that seems to be the case. There are times where you can try and get into somebody's lunch hour. Some events it's 5 o'clock and afterwards on middle of the week and that sort of stuff. But the message really is learn your open rates, but experiment. Don't think that you've got to get it right in the first week, and you don't have to know everything about this immediately. I would stay away from most weekends, just depending on what you are.
People are doing other things and they're not.
They're not dialed in.
Right. I have a question for you. So what I have been doing is sending out my email newsletter, and I'll wait maybe 2 or 3 days, and then I will post the newsletter on social media so that anybody can see it. And I'll send the link to Twitter, I'll put it on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that's a good idea?
The link to your email.
Yeah, so what MailChimp does is
Yep.
it gives you the EEP URL, they call it, EEP URL.
Yep.
And so it's just a URL to your email newsletter. If anyone has that URL, they can go look at it. And so technically they could go look at it at any time after you send it, but obviously they're not going to know what the URL is because there's some, I don't know, jumbled lettering and whatever.
It's a shortened URL.
Yeah. So I make that URL available publicly on social media after I send my initial campaign, maybe 2 or 3 days later. I think that it helps to get word of my newsletter out there, but I'm not really, I'm not basing that on anything.
Yeah.
So
No,
what do you think about that?
I like the fact that you wait until everybody else has already had a chance to read it.
Yes.
You don't want the numbers that come in from that to cloud your analytics on what's already been sent
Right.
to. Because the key information you're trying to get there is who's opened it, when have they opened it, did they click through?
Who on your list has opened it? Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when you start sharing the other URL, you're going to get opens, but it's not going to be tied to anyone.
Right.
The really neat thing, again, about so you've decided on some days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are probably best. And then you've said, okay, now what time of day am I going to send it? MailChimp's got a really cool tool because they've got everybody's email somewhere and they know what list they've subscribed to, and they've got this big data cache. They have a tool where you can say, let MailChimp optimize this for me. And you can tick that, and it's going to say, okay, I know who's on your list. I know what they do with the rest of the emails that we send them, they open. What is the best time for us to send your email? And they're going to tell you what time it is for that day.
That's great, but is that available to the free version or only to
It should be.
paid versions? Because I haven't seen that, but I will look for it.
Yep.
I will look for it.
I've got a lot of free accounts, so
Could be that I just...
every 2,000 users I start a new free account.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And there's another way to get around the cost. Okay.
Sorry, know the guys at MailChimp. No, I don't.
So there's a tick mark that will tell you the optimal time.
Yep.
Or checkbox
It's-
that'll tell you the optimal time.
I think it says send with time warp, and there's some other options down there at the very bottom, and one of them is let MailChimp choose the best time, and you can still change the day.
Right.
But every time you change the day, the time of day changes. It won't tell you the best day of the week and the best time.
Got it.
It'll only tell you the best time of the day that you've
Okay,
selected.
interesting. I am going to try that. I think
Yep.
that's very valuable. Great. Okay, so what about how often should I send email newsletters?
That's again going to be up to you and how hyperactive you are. If you are the type posting something on social media to your audience every day, then you're probably in a rhythm where you're sending it, once or twice a month. If you are only posting something on social media once a week or once a month, you may send an email out once a quarter, if maybe even just once a year. It just depends on how much you have to say.
Right.
Some people, as you said, don't wait until they've accumulated 3 or 4 things to talk about. They send an email every time just to make sure they blanketed every avenue. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
The key is just get to know what you feel is best if you were in the shoes of somebody subscribing to your content. That's the litmus test for any UX or user experience is try and empathize with your own audience and put yourself in their shoes and say, what is it that people want from me, and what kind of communication strategy do I want to put together?
Yeah. I have worked with a writer to, when I do send out articles, I know you don't like that, but when I do send out articles, they're pretty short though. I work with a writer for that content because it's just something that I can do, but I want to concentrate on my videos. I want to, focus on other things. So if you can get help that way, if there's a ghostwriter that you can get on board to at least get you some content to get you going, that would be a great way to build up this kind of library of content that you have, so you're not waiting in between issues of your newsletter and, kind of falling out of people's attention spans. Anything else?
Yeah, the thing that I skipped over was headlines.
Oh yeah, we
Super
didn't talk
important.
about headlines.
When we were
Let's
talking
talk
about content, I skipped the headline message, the title that comes through. That's really big, and I felt bad that I was skimming over it. And I kind of thought about it in the middle of the last bit, but yeah, that's what people see, and that's what decides whether they're going to open it or not.
Yes.
Plenty of times you see something and you see who it's from, and you go, yeah, I know I subscribed to that 3 years ago. What is your teaser text? What are you saying? What are you letting people know? Do you work for a nonprofit that has monthly events and you're trying to share that, like we were talking about earlier? Do you have a product? Do you have a valuable resource? Is there something you're giving away? MailChimp has the tools that'll tell you, is this spam related? You got to be careful with the words that you're putting in there, because that's what determines whether or not you end up in somebody's inbox or in their spam filter. So words like free, you want to stay away from. Things like that. Anything that you would consider spam, probably not best to put in there. But just be simple, be descriptive, and again, try and tease your audience a little bit and get them to think, oh, what is this all about?
Right. So what do you think about asking questions in your headlines?
I have not done that. That's a good idea.
I do that sometimes. I have not noticed that it has given me a higher open rate, but it hasn't hurt me either.
Yep.
So I like it because I like to write about things or make videos about things, questions that people are asking themselves. So that's what I would put in my headline. How do you deal with auditioning or whatever? If it's for my other channel, how do you deal with auditioning, or how do you deal with
Email marketing.
Email marketing. That would be for this channel.
That's what we're going to send this out as. You open this and are watching it because you saw an email and you said, I'm a sucker for how to do email marketing.
Well, and I think how-to is a big thing too.
Yeah.
When I see how-to in a headline, even if it's something I know how to do, I tend to click on it because I want to see what other people think about that thing. How to, for instance, I just did a video that I'm about to release, how to stay healthy on a really busy schedule. It is a question that so many people cover. I mean, of course, this has been done to death practically, but some audience members wanted to know my take on it. So, that's the question I put in the video, and that's the question I answer there, and that's the question I will put in my email headline. And if my viewers are asking me to talk about it, then I'm going to respond to their wishes.
I need to know how to stay disciplined with the instructions of staying healthy. I know the answers. I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Well, read my newsletter.
I will. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this video about how to do your email marketing. I hope we've provided some valuable tips for you. Please leave me a comment. Leave a negative or positive review. I do care if it's negative or positive, but I just want to hear what you think. So if you've got something that you want to add to this discussion, you've got some ideas or tips of your own, please put them in the comments. Even if you didn't like this video, tell me what you didn't like about it. Tell me what I could do better next time and things that maybe you want me to cover next time. So please give me a thumbs up, share this video, engage in the comments, and let me know what you're thinking. And this is again Pamela Duritis, and I am going to put links to all my sites below. I'm from Call Time Atlanta, and I am kicking off this new business and lifestyle channel here as well. And my guest today,
I'm Kyle Rollins with Mammoth Solutions. I'll also be available to answer questions below. So feel free to ask whatever you need, and you can get me at mammoth.solutions.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hasta luego.